Welcome to the Cool Tools Show. I'm Mark Frauenfelder, Editor-in-Chief of Cool Tools, a website of tool recommendations written by our readers. You can find us at cool-tools.org. I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Kelly, founder of Cool Tools. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, it's great to be here.
In each episode of the Cool Tools Show, Kevin and I talk to a guest about some of his or her favorite uncommon and uncommonly good tools they think others should know about. Our guest this week is Angela Eaton. Angela is a Black, Midwest-born environmental urbanist living and working in California on Ohlone land. Professionally, she supports communities in their efforts to monitor, understand, and publish open air quality and radiation data as a director for Safecast. Hey, Angela, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for the intro. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
And we're very, very glad that you're joining us, and we're very eager to hear about things that you're interested in.
All about telling you.
Okay.
So tell us, this is something that I've never heard of before, but I just like the name of it, the porcelain point pressing ball.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of pops in there.
Right. So this is a little thing that I picked up on a trip to Tokyo. A friend of mine hauled me into Amuji, and Amuji is kind of a local chain. They're all over the world, but they're not everywhere. So it's a porcelain ball that kind of looks like if you put a golf ball through some sort of dimensional torque and got it to expand and contract. And so it has little knobs all over it. And then what I like to do is just kind of rub it around my hands and rub my feet over it, especially if I've been walking a lot, especially if I'm out and I don't have my regular massage tools.
Okay, so it's a way to massage yourself, self-massaging tool.
It is. Right. It's rather small. It's smaller than, say, if people are used to or have ever seen Chinese meridian balls. They're those silver balls. They make some noise, and you roll them around your hands. It's smaller than one of those. I have used those. I've used a whole bunch of other types of hand and foot massage things. What I like about this is that it's very social, in that I can use it and nobody can hear it. So it doesn't make any noise, and I'm not likely to drop it too much. Whereas some of the other massage balls for hands and feet, I feel like I'm either dropping them or they're clacking around or they're making some sort of noise. And this is super portable. I can throw it in my DOP kit and then I'm off.
That's cool. And it's actually made of porcelain?
It is. It's really hard. It's not for everybody. It's very pokey. So
Very pokey.
It is. So, you wouldn't want to step on it. That would be a disaster. It would feel like a Lego.
Well,
Well, I mean, maybe not quite so bad, but it would not be pleasant. What you'd want to do is put your foot on top of it and then press down and roll around with it.
So, you control the pressure that you put on it.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised. Well, Muji has surprisingly good prices on stuff. I love to buy clothes whenever I'm at a Muji because it's nice clothes and the price is good. And this is like $7.50. And it looks like a little piece of art, actually.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. You sit it on your desk. No one needs to know.
No, I really want one. It's so cool.
You could just have someone sign it with a little Sharpie.
I don't know if that would stay, but okay.
Very cool. So what do we have next on our list of cool tools? The Henry mask, which is a timely thing.
Right.
The first was for your feet and hands. This one's for your
your face. So I like this because it feels like origami for your face. So
Could you describe what it is?
Sure. So it's kind of, it's not paper, it's not cloth. It's a mask that is it has three, I guess there's three folds. It kind of has a part that sticks out. A friend of mine said kind of beak-like, but it has a part that you can pull up over your nose and pull down under your chin. And then it has two, you can either use it over the ears or you can use it behind your head. So I tend to have I use it over my ears because I have big hair. And it would get like a lot of masks, if they go over your head and behind your head, they get caught in my curls. So this is really great for that. And I feel like it fits a lot of people's faces. I've so far never seen anybody not look good in this. But what I really like about it is that it's fun. It's got great design on it. It's either got bright colors or even the muted ones, the ones that are say they're business casual masks or something like that. Those masks still look like they're interesting to wear and fun and well designed. And I feel that the part that sticks out allows me to breathe better. So I think masks that give you a little bit of room in front of your face, you don't get that blowback when you're talking or breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at these masks, which I agree are really, really cheerful. I like the yellow. Yellow is my favorite color, and you have other bright colors. Um, and these are, just to be clear to people, these are like masks like for the COVID virus. These are
Right.
not like masks for Halloween, but masks to protect your breathing and incoming and outgoing. And so presumably they are of a certain kind of fabric. You said they're not cloth or not paper, but they're something in between.
It's not woven. It's more of a press.
Manufactured in some
Right.
way.
Yeah.
And
They're
so,
almost like a handy wipe look or something.
yeah.
They're thick. They're thicker than
Mhm.
that. Yeah. I mean, the
Okay.
inside of it is white. Yeah. Anyway, it's got something in it that can let you breathe through it.
And
3-ply 100% propylene non-woven fabric.
There you
okay,
are.
there you go. Perfect.
Thank
So,
you.
it's looking at the FAQ on the site for Henry masks. It looks like you don't buy one or two. You actually subscribe to that. Just subscribe to them.
So that's another thing that I really like about it because one, masks get worn out and stinky, and I think you get bored with them and you need something to look forward to. And something coming in the mail that is bright and colorful and makes you excited to wear it. If you're going to be excited to wear any mask, this would be the one that I'd be excited to wear. So I think that's kind of like net, I'm going to wear it. And that makes me feel better.
Okay. So you're always looking forward to what's going to. Do you get to pick out what's next, or do they send you kind of their next creation?
So they have different versions. They have like different designs. You can buy them all just in one color. You can have muted colors, or you can buy patterns. They had a Pride version for June, and I think they changed the patterns every so often. But you can go either into the wild spectrum of it and have like kisses all over your face, or you can go into something that looks a little bit more like, just a nice green to match your eyes, say.
They look really nice.
Yeah, they're very colorful.
That sounds good.
So what is a subscription?
So a subscription, right? Sorry. So 4 masks a month, and let's see, I forget how much it costs, but 4 masks a month you get, and then you're able to then change it every month. You're tired of what you have, well, you can change it to another one of their design patterns. And they also have a buy one share one plan, which most mask makers are doing now.
Oh, that's great. And it's $40 a month.
Yes.
Less for kid size and teen size.
Right. That's another thing that my friends who have smaller children really like it for their kids. Their kids like wearing them, and they feel that they're responding well to them and that they can actually use them. I have a friend who had her kid on a bike ride, and she was showing, the kid with the mask on the bike, and it was all looking kind of fun. So it's an LA-based company, Black-owned LA-based company, and yeah, I just kind of like everything about the design and the organization around it.
The colors are so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're definitely getting this for our family because our masks are not nearly this
Yeah,
sophisticated
we
looking.
have this sort of institutional blue.
I think you can get commercial ones too, so you can get ones for the podcast.
Nice.
Oh yeah, the logo.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. That's cool. All right. So, Angela, I guess you are a bit of a gamer, it sounds like, because your next one is for a game or video amusement of some kind. Star Battle Go.
So Star Battle Go, I would say my gaming is usually around word games. Star Battle Go is not a word game. Star Battle Go, I think most people describe it as having a more Sudoku feel to it. But it was created, I think when I read the notes on it, it said it was created in 2003 by a Dutch creator. I don't know the name, it would be in the notes. So a friend of mine saw this game somewhere and she decided to make her own. And because that game, I guess they'd cut it, or like they gave a teaser version of it, but then it didn't catch on or something like that. And she was like, no, this is worth something to me. So she created the game, and the way she designed it is so elegant. It just works very well. So imagine if you have it's a 10 by 10 square, and you have different shapes within it. And so the shapes to me look almost like shapes for another game,
Like
Tetris shapes, right? And so within those shapes, you can have only 2 stars, and you have to place the stars, and you can only have 2 stars per column and 2 stars per row. So there's this, you have to figure out in this row, in this column, and in the shape how to place your stars. And then of course you can it will fill in the places that you can't place your stars, or you can make it harder on yourself and not give yourself those clues.
So it's a grid. It's a 10 by 10 grid.
Right.
And there's 10 rows and 10 columns. And then there's these shapes over those grid and like little states, say. And then you can only have 2 stars in each state, and you're going to have 2 stars in each row and only 2 stars in each column. And these are all the same stars. And so it's sort of like, there's no numbers, but it's all I don't know, geometry, I guess. I think it's also, I saw this in the New York Times, it's called To Not Touch.
Exactly.
Which is a paper version of it. And I tried one and I realized this is really difficult. I'm amazed that you can do it at all.
So, but I mean, you get hints, right? So the way that it's designed is that you can, if you double tap, you get a star, and then around that star are little X's where you cannot put another star. So the big clue, if I'm going to give anybody a clue from listening, is that you first need to decide where the stars cannot go. And then that will help you decide where the stars have to go.
Oh, wow. That's profound. Now maybe I can actually finish one.
Yeah, it's a really good game, and I think it's really well worked out.
And so, just to be clear, you're talking about a game that's played on the phone and not just on a piece of paper. And so this is like an app, and that's where you get the hints coming up from as you...
Exactly. So the paper version that you just referenced from the New York Times, I think that was her inspiration.
Okay. So To Not Touch is this paper version, like a crossword puzzle, but it's
exactly
this thing. And this is a phone app version called Star Battle Go, which they call a logic puzzle, which makes sense to me as logic. So
I like that it says that it was built with coffee and love.
And that's just a kind of a one-time purchase for the, or is this also a subscription? How does it work?
I don't remember purchasing it. I think it's
totally free.
Yeah.
I downloaded it already, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm on the first easy puzzle, and I have no idea how to get started.
You can undo pretty well.
Okay.
And they're right. She's got you.
Cool. Okay,
Okay.
good. Yeah, there's like a little tutorial. This looks really fun. All right.
Okay.
It is.
My weekend is all set
It's
now.
definitely a way to process out all of the things that are going on around you. You just kind of, they're just stars and X's.
Very cool. I can't not wait to get started. It really looks fun.
Okay, great.
Okay, so then you have another appy kind of a thing, and it's called Song Sleuth Auto Bird Song ID. Oh, is this something that can identify a bird based on its sound?
In theory, I'll give you the background. So, in these last 3 months, there's not been a lot of noise, and I think there's been more birds. Birds have been chattering away, or I've noticed them more. So it's pretty exciting to walk outside, or I'm like, what is that? It's kind of like the cycling noise, or kind of a rat-a-tat-tat, or what's going on. A friend of mine turned me on to Song Sleuth, which is kind of, if you want to call it Shazam for birds. You have to record it, and then you pull down the recording. There's a way for you to manipulate the sound recording so that you're just isolating as much as possible the bird sound, and then it says ID, and it runs it against what it knows and gives you some possible matches, and then allows you to hear what those birds are, so that you then can determine if the match is correct.
Oh, I see. Well, so that process which you just described, if you're out in the field, and let's say you have connectivity, you have cell service, how long would that take? Is it any close to real time, or would you be able to do it in the field, or is it more like you have to?
Oh no, I do it in the field. Yeah.
Okay. So like 5 minutes?
No,
3
not
minutes?
5 minutes. It's immediate. So you record, you hear a bird,
Right.
you hit the record button, and then when the bird is through singing, you hit the record button again, and it will isolate as best as it can what it thinks that the song sound is, and then you can kind of play with it to say, no, it goes up higher, it goes, it's thinner, it's longer. So you kind of play with that, and then you press run ID, and then it will immediately say, okay, so as we were talking, I was doing it, and it says human, common, and then it was also, apparently I also sound like a common raven or a Canada goose.
That was me. The goose is me, definitely.
So that was exciting.
So how often will it, in your own experience of using it in the real life, how often would it yield an ID, and how often did you feel that the ID was probably correct?
Okay, so this is not a tool for expert birders, I don't think, because when I read up on it, there's all sorts of complaining going on out there. But for me, I'm not an expert birder. I don't know anything. I'm just looking at something and going, what is that? And it surprises me. So a lot of times what I've gotten are, I'm like, house finch. Okay. Like sparrow. So it's not that I'm getting back things that are so revelatory. Every once in a while, it'll give me something super uncommon. I'm like, you're just toying with me. I did not hear some super rare bird. So I think that there's room to grow with this app, but it's just fun to play with and hear and observe when I think that more wildlife is out there taking up space that humans used to be taking up.
So this, looking at the app, and this is the OS version at least, it's by, I guess it's using David Sibley's bird reference. It says, and David Sibley is sort of the god of bird ID in terms of the book, the guidebooks that he did, the paintings. He's sort of like the modern day Audubon, because he was a young guy who just decided I think he dropped out of college, whatever it was. He decided he was going to be the Birdman, and he became the expert and did all the paintings himself and published almost like from nothing a complete bird book to the North American birds, and everybody was amazed. And so I guess he's involved with this somehow. But the thing that I do know about birding, which I don't know very much, is that when I'm with birders, the main way that they identify birds is by their song and sound, not by seeing them, because they're hard to see, but they're easier to hear, and so they'll usually hear a bird long before they see one. And
Wow.
so being able to identify birds by their songs, and it's not just the song, it's like where the song is, it's like where the sound is coming from. That's the other big identifier is, is it up in the high trees, is it in the bushes, is it along the river? And so I find that the birders usually know about a bird long before they see, and have that kind of, the visual is almost like a confirmation of what they suspected from the song. So this is a really great aid to learning. If you can learn to identify from the songs, you're way ahead in terms of following birds.
I think you just told me that I'm being pulled into something much, much greater than what I ever suspected. So, of course, birding is a thing, and and it seems like maybe it's drawing me in.
Yeah, good. Yeah, well, that it's, I think you're right that there are. I think something else you may also realize, even if there isn't a change in the number of birds, is just that once you become more aware of them, you realize that they're kind of more prevalent than you imagined.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
And they talk about you too.
Yeah.
They really do.
Like crows do that.
The crows outside will absolutely,
yeah.
You go outside and they'll start calling to each other.
Right.
And letting, yeah.
Yeah, they're mocking you, basically.
Who knows what they're saying?
We've
been trying to attract crows in our yard with
why?
That
because
sounds
I think they're
interesting.
Cool. No, the crows are just they're bullies.
They do bully the hawk that's in the area.
Yeah.
But I think that they're commenting on my mask, actually.
They could be. Sure.
Yeah. The crows, they're fearless in our neighborhood. They've chased out the owls too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, maybe I just think crows are cool.
So while there's still birds in my neighborhood other than crows, I will be using the birding app.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a try. I'm really encouraged from what you're saying to give it a try, because that is a pretty tough AI problem to identify, just from the song or the noise. If you haven't tried iSeek, which is a kind of a corresponding app that helps you identify plants and sometimes even trees from your camera phone, and it's pretty good as well.
It is. We have that too, and we take it on our walks.
Yeah,
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
So speaking of like sensing things in the world around us, you are a director for Safecast. And I should just disclose that I'm on the board of Safecast, which is how we got to know each other. And I'm a huge believer in Safecast. Why don't you tell us just briefly what Safecast does, and then about the cool new Air Note that was recently introduced?
Right. So Safecast is a way for people and communities to self-publish environmental data. And what that amounts to is, how do I know if my air is clean, or how do I know if what the two things that we publish at the moment for environmental data are radiation and air quality data. And so, or how do I know what the radiation is around me? And the reason why we publish air quality and radiation are that Safecast originally was born out of the Daiichi Fukushima nuclear meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it started almost 9 years ago with that event, and people at the time did not know what their radiation exposure was. They got together and figured out a way to build small handheld mobile radiation measurement devices that were called the BGeigie, and then they went and mapped their environment to find out what their exposure had been. So that ended up being a wonderful worldwide project, and now it's, people are still putting together BGeigies and mapping them. And we also found that people had a lot of questions about their air quality, and so we have a whole air quality data gathering component that the newest monitor that we're working with is the AirNote, which was also put together by Safecast volunteers. It has this great ability to be placed anywhere because it doesn't require Wi-Fi, and it doesn't require an electricity source. It has its own, it's a solar cell, and it automatically uploads data so that you don't have to worry about it. You can just place it wherever works best for you. And I think like one of the things that is really important to me about that is that it makes it really accessible to more people. It will allow people who say can't afford a Wi-Fi or don't have maybe a space next to their home, they'll be able to place it somewhere and do some documentation as well.
And so is it uploading to the cellular? It's a cellular network.
A cellular network, yeah,
Right, okay.
upload. And that's actually part of the device. So you don't have to have a cellular plan. It's just something that happens.
But you have to at least be in the cellular network to upload it.
Not at all. You just need to have, it just needs to have like a clear line of sight to a cell tower, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean. Okay.
We hardly have cell coverage at our home here in Pacifica.
Got it.
So we barely, in fact, they even are all the smart meters these days, so your water meter, are all moved to broadcasting their data on cell, but ours wasn't working, so they had to put a kind of like a relay amplifier thing to kick it up to get a signal. So
you sound way out there.
Well, I know it's you would think we're just in Pacifica within 8 miles of San Francisco downtown, but that if we were China, there'd be a big tower in our backyard. The devices, are these devices that individuals would buy, or is this a device that your system sort of puts in on request and is managing? What's the general dynamic? Let's say, I'm concerned about the air in my little town or city. What do I do? How do I get this in my town? Well,
you might contact me.
Yeah.
But right, you might do that. So right now these are in beta, and there's, we have a precious few of them that have been, we have some on the East Coast, some on the West Coast, some in different parts of Asia. There's Hong Kong and Japan have a couple of them. And, unfortunately, there's a little bit of a holdup because of COVID in getting more assembled and produced out so that we can actually get them out to people. So once those kinks are worked out, and I think that's inevitably soon, it would be a sponsorship. So you wouldn't think of it as I'm owning this device, but you would think of it as I'm going to sponsor this device at my place or at a public institution. We're going to have them sponsored in Los Angeles at the public library, which is very exciting. And you would pay somewhere on the order of between $100 and $200 to do that sponsorship, and then you would have the device, and you would become that's part of your volunteer effort, is sponsoring it and being a Safecaster and kind of making sure that it's wiped off if the solar cell gets a little cloudy and things like that.
So there are a network of people who actually are like amateur meteorologists. They have weather stations in their backyards, and that's part of the kind of change in weathercasting. Actually, has been making uses of not just the official government ones, but also the many amateur ones. Um, is this kind of a similar kind of a network where um, uh, there's a whole variety of different sensors and people kind of overseeing them, and then you feed it into. Does it go into a map? Does all this data kind of
It
go into
does.
something?
It goes into a map, which is at Safecast. It's a somewhat live map. So what I think what's interesting and exciting about it is that there's a lot of people that have questions about air and air quality, or questions, even questions about radiation. If you live near a plant, you kind of wonder, right? So traditionally, a lot of people that are interested in participating in Safecast, there's a lot of people, like you said, they overlap with weather, people that want to do weather, host a weather station, or people that are interested in other kinds of data collection. And I think now it's kind of broadened out because more people see that they have the ability to participate in it, and that it doesn't have to be quite the barrier to entry in terms of how much technology do you have to have in your background is lower now, and we're trying to make it so that anybody who has these questions can do this data monitoring. But really, it's not about the machine; it's about the can people get to the point where they can reference the map, or they can look at the raw data and say, I have questions about my environment and about my air quality, and then I can understand this data. I can use it and manipulate it, and bring it to city council meetings, or do whatever that it is that I wish to learn from it.
When my eldest daughter was in elementary school, middle school, she did a science project trying to study the air quality in our town and comparing it right at the ocean side and then on Highway 1. And
how'd that work?
She used double back tape and was trying to count the air particles that you could see on the tape after some length of time.
Bless her. That sounds hard, but I've heard of that before. It's a great way to look at air quality, to see like how things darken. So how did it work out for her?
Well, she got results, and unsurprisingly, there was a difference right along Highway 1, but it probably was not as much as maybe she was expecting, because the difference in was just a few, what was like a half a mile, but it was visible, and so that was instructive. But it would have been really cool had some of these kinds of technologies existed at that time. This was 20 years ago, that you could use something like this that was much more refined and much made. So I could kind of see this as the educational value of this, as well as just the actual community monitoring. There's also a way in which kids could be really involved in a great way.
Absolutely. I think that, first of all, don't discount low tech ways of getting people interested in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the tape, or the I've seen people use, it's kind of looking like a filter, but
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a photographic version of what's going on with the air. I think that all of that serves to get people conversational and feeling like they can actually talk about it in ways that make sense both to them and to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then this level is what you're really doing is you're submitting to a public good. You're adding data to a collection that many other volunteers are doing, adding to, and then from that we can both on, the research level and on the individual level, see what's going on. And that's what I mean by asking questions and getting your questions answered. But that starts with some basic premise stuff that you can look at with tape. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, this is really great. And I can see just from your little website and the sequence of devices that you've been making that there's this sort of accelerating parade of them as they get better and more self-contained and presumably more accurate, and then hopefully even cheaper over time.
Yeah, I think Safecast is we're really an all volunteer effort, and nothing gets built without somebody wanting it. So it's it really is. It's very important to kind of the internal logic of Safecast, that we don't try to push things out to people, that people have to want it first, and then we try to involve them in building it.
Right. So I'm just curious if there's much demand for such a thing in China and India, where air pollution is not just a secondary concern, but is in many cases a primary concern, even determining where people live and stuff. And both of those countries are kind of techie countries, and China makes stuff. What do you see happening in those countries? Are they interested in this? Are they doing their own version? Is there much overlap or much communication?
Everybody's interested in air quality, and there are quite a few commercial enterprises that are allowing people to do, individual or personal air quality monitoring, both indoor and outdoor. I think the reason for Safecast is that all of our data is open, and therefore it can be used with any other data. It's meant to be highly usable, right? So if you have closed data sets, then there's an issue with that. With it might be highly usable, but only for the people who control the data set, right? So so that ends up being a problem with commercial enterprises, in my opinion. But if people are getting what they need from it, I understand that too. So I think that I don't have much insight into what's going on in India or in China, specifically with the monitoring situation. And like I said, it's like we do monitoring so that we can get the data.
Right.
We don't do monitoring so that we can sell monitors. But I do know that for Safecasters in Hong Kong, there were some questions a while back about whether or not some of the events that were happening in Hong Kong were actually affecting the air quality. So there were discussions about that and whether or not that could be seen or proved with air quality monitoring.
Well, I wish you guys the best. It's a fantastic project, a fantastic model for doing your project, keeping the data open, and I would love to see more of these everywhere. Basically,
I can make that happen.
Yeah,
I love it, and thanks, Angela. I'm more excited than ever to be helping in any way that I can with Safecast. So it's really cool hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Angela, thank you for all the recommendations. I texted the Henry masks to my wife while we were talking, and she's already signed up for them.
That's great.
I downloaded Star Battle Go, so I'm ready to go with that.
You're all in.
You're all in.
And I am totally all in. The song swoop's going right on because we have more birds than ever when we take our walk. And then the porcelain pressing ball. I mean, how can I resist something like that?
How can you resist that?
Yeah. It's cool. It's kind of like an atom with an electron cloud. Or
it
something.
does. Oh, yeah, that's what it looks like. You're right.
Yeah.
It does have that look.
I love it so much. Angela, this is a blast. And these are all tools that I have never heard of before, which is kind of rare. Usually when people talk, there's something new. So thank you so much for coming up with really creative, cool things.
Wow. Okay. I'm glad to have done it. Great to talk to you. That was super fun.
Hey everybody, it's Mark from the Cool Tools podcast. I want to thank you for being a listener to Cool Tools. And I also would like to let you know about our Patreon page. If you would like to support the Cool Tools show, as well as our video channel, the website, and all the newsletters that we do, you can go to patreon.com/cooltools. That's just one word, Cool Tools, and pledge any amount you want. You could even pledge $1 a month. Every little bit helps. We have editors, we pay for transcribing costs, we pay our reviewers. Every bit of money that you contribute goes towards supporting the show. I'd like to give a shout out to our supporters of the Cool Tools podcast. This week, I'd like to thank the following Patreon supporters: Bill Schuler, Bob Kay, Brian Pelly, Carl D. Patterson, Chad Cosby, Chris Wieland, Chris Weirstook, Craig Tooker, Dan O'Brien, Dean Putney, Danelle Cunningham, Evan Barker, Graham Medlin, Hans Riesbeck, Helen Hegedus, Jerry Kearns, Jim Lesko, Jim Spofford, John Pollock, John Burdenbaugh, Keith O., Ken Altman, Les Howard, Lauren Bast, Mock Nerd, Malton Make, Mark Goebel, Matt Gromes, Michael Douglas, Michael Jones, and Michael Pecorini. Thanks to all of you for supporting the Cool Tools show. We really appreciate it.